Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
From the earliest centuries of faith, Ethiopian Christianity has spoken of the final judgment with a gravity that is both sobering and hopeful. Long before medieval Europe painted scenes of heaven and hell, and long before modern theology softened the language of judgment, Ethiopian texts preserve an ancient vision of the end of time rooted in justice, restoration, and cosmic order. This vision did not emerge from fear alone, but from a deep conviction that history is meaningful, that evil is temporary, and that every action echoes beyond the present moment. To understand what Ethiopian texts say about the final judgment is to enter a worldview where divine justice is neither arbitrary nor delayed, but patiently unfolding toward an inevitable conclusion. Ethiopian Christianity developed at the crossroads of ancient Judaism, early Christianity, and African tradition. When the Kingdom of Aksum adopted Christianity in the 4th century, it did not abandon earlier ways of understanding divine law. Instead, Ethiopian faith absorbed biblical theology with remarkable continuity. This continuity allowed Ethiopian texts to preserve early Christian perspectives on judgment that later disappeared elsewhere. Judgment was not viewed simply as punishment, but as the final restoration of balance between heaven, earth, and humanity. Central to Ethiopia's understanding of the final judgment is the belief that creation itself bears witness to human behavior. In texts preserved within the Ethiopian canon, including writings attributed to Enoch and Jubilees, the cosmos is portrayed as morally ordered. The stars, seasons, and movements of time operate according to divine command. When humans violate this order through injustice, violence, and idolatry, the imbalance cries out for correction. Judgment is therefore not an interruption of history, but its fulfillment. The Book of Enoch, preserved in full only within the Ethiopian biblical tradition, offers one of the most detailed ancient descriptions of final judgment. In these visions, the judgment is universal. Kings, angels, and common people alike are subject to divine scrutiny. Power offers no protection. The righteous are not spared judgment, but vindicated through it. This emphasis resonated deeply within Ethiopian spirituality, which emphasized humility before God rather than confidence in status or lineage. Ethiopian texts also present judgment as deeply ethical. Salvation is not reduced to belief alone, nor is condemnation portrayed as arbitrary. Deeds matter. Compassion toward the poor, honesty in speech, faithfulness in covenant, and reverence for God are weighed with seriousness. This ethical focus reflects Ethiopia's strong connection to Old Testament moral theology, where covenant faithfulness is central. Unlike later Western traditions that emphasized fear of hell, Ethiopian texts balance warning with hope. Judgment is terrible for the unrepentant, yet it is also the moment when creation is healed. Evil does not simply disappear. It is exposed, confronted, and removed. The righteous are described as shining with restored dignity, participating in a renewed world rather than escaping from it. Angels play a significant role in Ethiopian descriptions of the final judgment. Archangel Michael appears as the guardian of souls, weighing deeds with divine authority. Other angels serve as witnesses and executors of judgment. This angelic involvement reinforces the idea that judgment is orderly, not chaotic. Heaven operates with structure, accountability, and purpose. Ethiopian tradition also preserves a strong belief in bodily resurrection. Judgment is not limited to the soul. The body, having participated in deeds both good and evil, is restored and judged as well. This belief reflects early Christian teaching and resists later philosophical tendencies to spiritualize salvation. Human wholeness matters in Ethiopian theology. Time itself plays a crucial role in Ethiopian eschatology. History is portrayed as moving through appointed seasons toward a divinely determined end. Human impatience does not hasten judgment, nor does injustice delay it indefinitely. This understanding fostered resilience during periods of persecution and hardship. Suffering was not meaningless, and oppressors would not escape accountability. Ethiopian liturgical texts reinforce these themes through hymns and prayers that remind worshippers of the coming judgment. These reminders are not intended to terrify, but to cultivate vigilance and humility. Faith is lived with awareness of consequence. One striking feature of Ethiopian thought is its resistance to speculative timelines. While Ethiopian texts speak vividly of judgment, they avoid obsessive prediction. The focus remains on moral readiness rather than calculation. The final judgment belongs to God alone. This perspective also shaped Ethiopia's resistance to external theological control. While other regions narrowed acceptable interpretations of judgment, Ethiopia maintained its ancient balance between justice and mercy. Judgment was never separated from compassion, nor mercy from accountability. Modern scholars increasingly recognize the value of Ethiopian eschatology in understanding early Christianity. Ethiopian texts preserve voices from a time when judgment was not softened for comfort nor weaponized for control. It was proclaimed as truth meant to transform behavior. The final judgment, as understood in Ethiopian tradition, confronts modern sensibilities that prefer ambiguity over accountability. It insists that history matters, that actions have weight, and that justice will ultimately prevail. This vision also offers hope. In a world marked by injustice, the promise of final judgment affirms that evil does not have the final word. Restoration awaits. Ethiopian texts do not invite fear-driven faith, but responsible faith. They call believers to live as participants in a moral universe where God's justice is both patient and certain. The endurance of this teaching across centuries testifies to its power. Ethiopia preserved not only texts, but a worldview shaped by reverence and expectation. In preserving ancient teachings about the final judgment, Ethiopian Christianity offers the modern world a reminder that faith once spoke boldly about justice without losing compassion. The final judgment is not portrayed as divine rage unleashed, but as divine order restored. Light exposes darkness so that creation may be healed. This is the heart of Ethiopian eschatology. Judgment is coming, not because God delights in punishment, but because God delights in truth.